The country of Burma, also known by the name Myanmar, or officially the Union of Myanmar, is the largest country in Southeast Asia and the 40th largest country in the world. With this being said, the country has ever-growing problems on issues whether political, economic, or social. The problems stem all the way back to the beginning of the country's existence and continue through this very day. Issues with the country touch on things as small as its name, which is seemingly unimportant. However, those who refer to the country as Burma rather than Myanmar are those who do not believe in the military junta that holds power. As a member of the British Empire until 1948, Myanmar continues to mend tensions as the country's culture is based around Theravada Buddhism. Theravada is the oldest surviving Buddhist school as is predominant in Southeast Asia. With 89% of the country being Buddhist, the fights that are taking place within the country are often against people with a shared religion. Often tensions are built based on religious indifferences. But this country, based around the religion of Buddhism, social, economic, and political tension is something that has been and seemingly will always be a way of life. In this paper, I will address the ongoing problems taking place in Burma by looking at its past and present circumstances and look into how even practicing the same religion is not helping to stop the problems at hand for this country. The history of problems in Burma begins with the seemingly simple issue of its name. On January 4th, 1948, Burma received its independence from the United Kingdom as the Union of Burma. Since then, there were a number of subsequent name changes, such as Socialist Republic of the Union of Burma, the Union of Burma, and the Union of Myanmar. The name Burma supposedly came from Brahmadesh, which is a Sanskrit name for the region. In 1989, the military junta officially changed the English version of its name from Burma to Myanmar. However, those who do not believe in the military junta holds power in the country still refer to it as Burma. The official renaming of the country caused a lot of controversy. Many Burmese opposition groups continue to use the name Burma because they do not recognize the legitimacy of the ruling government. There are still Western governments such as the United States, Australia, Ireland, and Britain that refer to the country as Burma. Also, the United Nations has accepted the name change, but the European Union still refers to the country as Burma/Myanmar. Although issues over the name are still left unresolved, there is not one official name to refer to the country. There are many other problems that have taken place in Burma since the beginning of its existence that play much more crucial roles in the development or lack thereof in the country. Another issue in the development of the nation are the people and empires who were first inherent to the land. The Mon people were the first to have arrived, and they dominated southern Burma in the mid-900s. These people historically lived in southern Burma and used the Burmese language for daily business, as they are mostly only literate in Burmese. Like many ethnic minorities in modern Burma, they are under pressure to assimilate to the culture or to flee. The Mon fostered Theravada Buddhism in the 1300s. Waruru, who became the king of Motama, patronized Buddhism and established the Dhammata, a code of law compiled by Buddhist monks. The Pu, who came about in the 1st century BC, established a number of city kingdoms which traded with India. The most powerful of the kingdoms was Srikseta. However, in 656 it was abandoned. Pu then re-established themselves eventually, but were invaded by the Nazaho kingdom in the mid-800s. The Burmans, otherwise known as the Bamar, began migrating to the Irrawaddy from what is now Tibet sometime prior to the 800s. By 849 they established a powerful kingdom centered on pagan. Under the reign of Anuratha, the first ruler of a unified Burma, Burman influence expanded through much of the present-day Myanmar, and Theravada Buddhism became prevalent among the Burmese. Prior to his rule, a form of Mahayana Buddhism known as Ari Buddhism existed. Ari Buddhism included the worship of Bodhisattva and Nagas, and also corrupt monks. Anuratha was converted by Shin Arana to Theravada Buddhism. By the 1100s, much of Southeast Asia was controlled by the pagan kingdom commonly called the First Burmese Empire. In the late 1200s, under Kublai Khan, the Mongols invaded the pagan kingdom. However, the Burmans were able to re-establish the kingdom at Ava by 1364. This is where the Burmese culture entered a golden age. In 1531, the Tugun kingdom was established by the Burmans who had fled from Ava when it was attacked under Taban Shweti. This was the man who reunified Burma and founded the Second Burmese Empire. The Tugun kingdom became a major trading center because of the European influence in Southeast Asia. However, a lack of resources and internal rebellion led to the downfall of the Tugun kingdom. Eventually, in the 1700s, the Konbaung dynasty was established at Alakpaya. This was known as the Third Burmese Empire. Under the reigns of many Konbaung kings, both secular and religious literary works were created. The government of Burma, or Myanmar, has been questionable from the day the country existed through today, in which it was run by a military junta. The first deputy chairman of the Executive Council of Burma was Aung San. During this period, there was a transitional government. However, to make things worse, in 1947, Aung San, along with several cabinet members, were assassinated. The result of this was that in January 1948, the nation became an independent republic, then named the Union of Burma. Sao Shui was the first president, and U Nu was the first prime minister. At this point, both civil and military governments were in support of Theravada Buddhism. The 1974 Constitution reads, "The state recognizes the special position of Buddhism as the faith professed by the great majority of the citizens of the Union." The Ministry of Religious Affairs was the group responsible for continuing Buddhism in Myanmar. U Nu was also an advocate of the progression of Buddhism, and in 1954 convened the Sixth Buddhist Synod in Rangoon. This was attended by 2,500 monks, and the World Buddhist University was established. This group used a bicameral parliament which consisted of Chamber of Deputies and Chamber of Nationalities. The Chamber of Deputies was the lower house of the bicameral parliament and is similar to the American House of Representatives. The Chamber of Nationalities was the upper house of the bicameral parliament, which reviewed and revised bills that passed through the Chamber of Deputies. This part of the parliament was formed as a way to give minorities within Burma some political power in the national government. In 1962, democratic rule was ended with a military coup d'etat led by General Ne Win. Under the military rule of Ne Win, he used the Burmese way to socialism as a way to reform Burma. This document contained a number of elements of Buddhism. Under Ne Win's rule, he also pushed for the nationalization of industries, severe isolationism, the expulsion of foreigners, the discouragement of tourists, the closing off of the economy, the repression of minorities, and a police state. Due to the unhappiness of the state, there were obvious uprisings on the way, beginning in 1988 with the 8888 uprisings. This led to a massive pro-democracy demonstration. Those who were killed in this uprising were mostly monks and civilians. The result of this was the SLORC, State Law and Order Restoration Council, but in 1989, martial law was declared because of the widespread protests. In 1990s, free elections were held for the first time in 30 years. The winner of the election, the National League for Democracy, led by Aung San Suu Kyi, won the majority of the seats. However, the results of the election were voided as the SLORC refused to step down. The SLORC was the group that renamed Burma Myanmar in 1989. They showed plans to create a new constitution through the National Convention in 1992. In 1997, they were renamed the State Peace and Development Council, SPDC, as they had supposedly changed their efforts. With the help of the United States, Burma was included in the United Nations Security Council, which allowed for the United Nations Security Council to discuss officially how to deal with the issues taking place in Burma today. Buddhism made major contributions to the development of Burmese politics. Burmese nationalism began with the formation of the YMBA, Young Men's Buddhist Association. These started to appear all over the country, and at the turn of the century, after the country gained independence, civilian governments patronized Buddhism for donating large amounts of money to upkeep and build Buddhist monuments. Along with this, political leaders and parliamentarians passed legislation influenced by Buddhism. U Nu declared Buddhism the state religion, which alienated minority groups. The ruling government is so keen to be seen as a patrons of Buddhism that Burmese television is only seen in two colors, green and yellow. This is because the military green uniforms and the monks' yellow robes. Today, the Union of Myanmar is governed by a military regime. They are currently headed by General Than Shui, with most ministry and cabinet positions being held by military officers. The military government is the reason for the majority of the problems going on in the country of Burma. The National Coalition Government of the Union of Burma has its mission of restoring democracy in Burma. However, the military government has outlawed the NCGUB, and therefore it is seemingly a useless group.